On Larry King Now, he built a music-making empire out of a tiny town named Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Its legendary record producer, Rick Hall.
We did the first hit record on Aretha Franklin. We did the first hit record on Etta James. First hit record on Otis Redding. There is a Muscle Shoals sound. It's heavy on the bass, heavy on the kick drum, and it's got a lot of balls.
Plus,
the music today, as far as I'm concerned, in 10 years from now, we'll have no more music unless something changes.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest, Rick Hall, one of the most prolific record producers, music publishers, songwriters, and musicians of the past century. This man built a music-making empire out of his legendary Fame Studios in a tiny town, Muscle Shoals, Alabama. His resume includes work with some of the industry's biggest artists and acts like Aretha Franklin, Wilson Pickett, the Osmonds, Tom Jones, the Allman Brothers, and Paul Anka. That's just to name a few. Rick's one-of-a-kind story is the subject of a major documentary appropriately titled Muscle Shoals. He's also author of a book called Hell-Bent for Fame, and last night he received the highest honor you can get, a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2014 Grammys. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Let's go back a little to your beginnings. How did you come to the music business?
Well, my mother and father divorced when I was very small, 5 years old, and so I began to play and around the community and so forth. And so we had a bunch of pickers and Muscle Shoals that I became acquainted with, and songwriters, Billy Sherrill, who later became the head of A&R at CBS Records in Nashville.
What took you out of being a musician to being a producer? Why did you want to produce?
Good question. Well, I wanted to make more money. So I wanted to produce records, and I felt like being a musician and a songwriter and a publisher and all the other things, I was qualified, and so I wanted to pursue the producing thing.
Now, you had a tough childhood, right?
Oh, yes.
Poverty.
Very tough.
You lost a younger brother in a burning accident.
Yes,
Your
sir.
first wife in a car wreck. Your
Right.
father in a tractor accident. How'd you overcome all that?
Music. I spent a lot of time playing music and writing songs and reminiscing about the past and the whole thing.
What took you to Muscle Shoals, Alabama?
I was not welcomed in Nashville, Tennessee, and I had no friends in New York City. My idol was Jerry Wexler, Ahmet Ertegun, and Clive Davis and those guys. I wanted to be big, and I wanted to be in the pop music business, and so Nashville was country, and so I couldn't break in.
So why Muscle Shoals?
So I came to Muscle Shoals and opened a studio, built my own studio, was my own engineer, and started working with singers and songwriters and produced a couple of hit records, #1 records.
Was there or is there a Muscle Shoals sound?
There is a Muscle Shoals sound. It's hard to describe, but I will tell you this: it's heavy on the bass, heavy on the kick drum, and it's got a lot of balls. It's a ballsy kind of music.
What was your big break as a producer?
You Better Move On by a black artist by the name of Arthur Alexander in the early 1965, 66. And later on, the song was recorded and covered in England by a group called the Rolling Stones.
Oh.
And that was, yeah, and that was one of their first big hit records, #1 record for them.
Did you have a problem in the South, Alabama especially, working with black artists?
No, I had no problem whatsoever with working with black artists. I had problems with people.
That's what I mean.
White people around the black artists, surrounding those people and managing them and so forth. No, I had no problems whatsoever. Even though George Wallace was standing in the schoolhouse door at the University of Alabama saying "No blacks here," we had no problems. We were colorblind and we wasn't concerned about the color.
I interviewed Governor Wallace a few times. How did the Muscle Shoals and its music affect the civil rights movement? You think it had an effect?
I thought it was a very positive effect, Larry. We did the first hit record on Aretha Franklin. We did the first hit record on Etta James. We did the first hit record on Otis Redding.
Your studio was kind of a safe zone, right? For black and white artists to work. They could work together in a segregated city.
Yes, very much so. With Ku Klux Klan all around us and that kind of thing. But this was the '60s and things were tough. But I loved the black people and I loved the black music and I loved Southern soul black music, such as Aretha, Etta James, Wilson Pickett, Mustang Sally's, all those old hit records that you're familiar with, I'm sure. And
did a lot of people in the city get angry at you?
Oh, they knew very little about us because we kept the doors closed and we kind of kept a hush-hush, didn't allow the press to come around and interview people and things like that. So we didn't have any real hostility, but we had a lot of questions. You know, those guys, those long-haired hippies over there, they must be selling dope or something because, you know, that's how you make a living in Muscle Shoals if you're not in the music business.
How did you get the music out of Muscle Shoals? I mean, you were producing it. You didn't have your own label, did you?
No, not at first. Later on, I had a label with Capitol Records through Carl Engelman, and I'm sure you know that story.
I know him pretty well.
You know him quite well.
Next, RESPECT to Brown Sugar. We'll learn what it was like to work with everyone from Aretha Franklin to Mick Jagger. Stay with us. Documentary, Muscle Shoals. You should see it. It's play in theaters. It's you did a great job.
Thank you, sir.
I salute you very much.
Very much.
Aretha, I'm told that her first trip to Muscle Shoals didn't go well, right?
Didn't go quite as well as we hoped it would.
What happened?
Well, her husband got tanked up a little bit, and he started demanding that Jerry Wexler fire the horn player, and then fire the trumpet player, and then this other guy. And so I was chosen to be the one that did the firing. And so I said, what are these people doing, you know, to intimidate you? And he said, well, they're making passes at my wife. So I said to Jerry after the session was over, I said, well, I had a few drinks to settle my nerves, and I went over. I said, I'm going to the studio, over to the hotel, and I'm going to clear this all up. And Jerry said, please don't go, you know, because I want in trouble. And I said, well, I'm not going to make any trouble. I'm just going to have a few drinks, and we'll go over there and be buddies, and, you know, we'll pat each other on the back, and everything will be beautiful tomorrow. And so I went over there and got into a fist fight with her husband. I was told by Wexler that he would never darken my doors again, and he would never come back to Muscle Shoals. They came to New York, went to New York, and finished the album without me. And of course, I was the engineer and co-producer with her on her stuff with Wexler. And it was a tough gig.
How do you think you work so well with black artists?
Well, I'm one of them.
You feel black.
I feel black.
Like my friend Bill Clinton, who feels black.
Yes, exactly. I felt black. My wife can tell you, I can tell you that immediately when black people are around me, they feel very good about me.
What was special about Aretha?
She could hit those high notes like nobody could, and she had a very good sense of rhythm.
What makes a good producer?
A good producer, a guy who knows a hit song when he hears it, and a guy who knows how to get the best out of musicians in the recording studio.
Is it teachable?
I don't think it's very teachable because it takes a tough guy, and you have to be able to take a lot of BS.
All right, I'll name some artists. You tell me what it was like to work with them.
Yeah.
Etta James.
Wonderful. I thought she was a sweetheart. And Leonard Chess brought her to Muscle Shoals to meet me, and she came down with a long fur coat on and all of her poodles. And she got off, and this is July and August, it's hot summertime. And she came into the studio, and she had a ferocious temper. And she told me, she said, I'm going to do this damn song one more time, and I'm not going to hear, I don't want to hear it again. And I said, Etta, it's a hit song. It is a big hit song for you, and it'll bring you back to prominence. And she said, well, I don't want to hear it because I'm sick of this song. I hate this song. I always hated it, and I don't know why you're making me do this song. But she did the song, and it was a big hit for her.
What was the song?
It was called Tell Mama.
Oh, yeah. Wilson Pickett.
Wilson Pickett, we did, I had so many great hits with him.
Good guy?
Mean guy, but not to me. We were big buddies.
The Stones.
The Stones were a rollicking bunch of guys. They had a big time, and they came in the studio. If you got a song out of them in 3 days, you were doing.
I like Mick a lot, though.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Dixie Chicks.
Dixie Chicks, they were a little tough.
Yeah.
In a nice way.
The Osmonds.
Oh, boy, every producer's dream is to produce the Osmonds because they're gentlemen. They're gentle people, hardworking people, very reserved and
easy to work with.
Easy to work with. I mean, love them guys.
How about my buddy Paul Anka?
Paul was tough. He's
perfectionist.
Yeah, he was a perfectionist. He was a perfectionist, and he wanted things his way. They were his way or the highway.
Or my way, as he.
Yeah, that's my way. Yeah, exactly.
Rock stars are known for big egos, right?
Yes.
Did you have trouble dealing with that?
No, because I had a bigger one myself, Larry.
Did you ever, in all those years, have a favorite artist?
I have a lot of favorite artists, and I'm asked that question. It's a tough one. But Wilson Pickett was one of my favorite artists of all time. Aretha, of course, was. Even Paul, I liked him. He was my kind of guy. He was from New York, and he grew up hard and tough.
The documentary is Muscle Shoals. The book is Hell-Bent for Fame. And last night at the big Grammy Awards of 2014, he won a Lifetime Achievement Award. You can't do better than that. When we return, Rick will give his opinion on the current state of the music industry. Don't go away. Rick Hall, he won the Lifetime Achievement Grammy, the subject of the documentary Muscle Shoals. What was it like when they told you you're getting, I remember when I don't like to personalize it, when the Emmys called me and told me I'm getting a Lifetime Achievement, it was like, wow. What was it like for you when they told you?
Neil called me and said, Rick, this is not a regular Grammy. This is for a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I said, and he said, what do you got to say to that? And I said, well, Neil, I'll tell you what I've got to say. Hallelujah.
Compare the music industry today to 40 years ago. Biggest difference.
Well, the music today, as far as I'm concerned, in 10 years from now, we'll have no more music unless something changes.
What do you mean?
It's having a hard time. Studios are going to one-man shows. Every man owns a computer. Every man has a Pro Tool in his basement, and he plays all the parts and does the music. So it's not like in the old days when we did it. We had 15 people in the studio at one time, and we did it all together as a team. And you came up with a good lick, and I said, hey, let's build on Larry's lick. Larry's got the lick. Let's all conform to that thing and work around his thing. And now, one guy, it's like the old days, one guy did all the arranging and wrote all the parts and hand them out to the musicians. And it didn't work.
So there's no great producers now?
There's no great record producers. And computers have just about run the business for music people because you can't get paid and you don't have the personal relationship with each other. You have no reason to go out and find an artist because there's no money there. And so they let you, the guys who, like myself, who can afford to produce records, have all the cream and nobody else can get in.
Did you know when you were producing something would be a hit? Were you good at predicting?
I was great at predicting. I'll tell you a story. Wexler called me one time, and he said to, I said to him, he said, well, I'm having a party at my house, Rick, and I hope this is important because I don't have time for that mama and them bullshit. And so I said, well, you told me if I found a hit record to call you and send it to you. And I found the #1 record, Jerry. He said, really? That's big, Rick, you know. So he sent it to me. So I sent it to him, and he called me back and said, I don't like it. I don't think it's a hit. And I said, you're wrong, Jerry, because it's the #1 record worldwide. And he said, and that's pretty big. I mean, that is really big. You know, are you sure? And I said, I'm positive. I bet my life on it. Not #2, number 3, but #1, #1 record. And he said, well, if you feel that strong about it, I want to make a deal with the artist, Percy Sledge, and we're going to put it out. It was #1 and has been #1 for years. I think it's a classic, and it's called When a Man Loves a Woman by Percy Sledge.
Oh.
So
you knew that right away?
I knew that right away.
Do you ever do a song you thought would be a hit and it didn't?
A lot of them. A lot of them. I mean, I'm telling you, I can't name them all that I thought were hits, and they weren't hits.
And when it's not a hit, are you able to learn from that, or can you analyze it?
Yeah, you can analyze it, and I think I can analyze it because I think, first of all, a record has to have a dance beat, have to have a funky beat. Secondly, it has to have a great lyric. And you have to have an artist who is a perfect marriage for the song. And of course, it all starts with the song, a great song. If you've got a great song, like My Way or whatever.
But when they miss, are you able to look back and say, well, here's why that missed. Maybe it wasn't promoted right. Maybe the company didn't get behind it, because you loved it to begin with, right?
Yes, I did.
So it had to have those ingredients.
Yes, it had at least part of those ingredients. But, of course, that was always my cop-out was, you know, the label didn't promote it.
When in trouble, blame the label.
That's right, blame the label.
Is there any music form you don't like?
No music form that I don't like. I like gospel.
So if the rapper is good, you like rap?
I like rap.
If country is good, you like country?
I love country, yes. I like blues. I like jazz. I like it all. I mean, I love every part of it. Not everything about all of it, but I'm a big believer in music. I think it keeps the world going strong.
What about the record industry today?
In trouble. A lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. They are just barely hanging in there. They've let a lot of people go. They've tried to. They've joined forces, and this label bought that label, and that big fish eat up the little fish, and so forth, until there's nobody in the music business that I know of right now that was a Wexler or a Clive Davis or that kind of a promoter.
Are you retired?
No, I'm not retired.
Still doing it?
I'm waiting for another Elvis to come along.
When we come back next, what artist should we look out for? Stay with us with Rick Hall. Don't go away. The documentary is Muscle Shoals. He won a Lifetime Achievement from the Grammys. What's special about Muscle Shoals as a place to live? Why do you live there?
It's a small town. We say it's a small town with big music.
Did you ever meet Presley?
Yes, I met him one time in Las Vegas.
Would you like to have recorded him?
Oh, I'd love to have recorded him. He's 40 miles down the road from Muscle Shoals.
Tupelo, right?
Tupelo, Mississippi.
What's an upcoming artist we should keep an eye on?
Well, there's a couple or three that I'm infatuated with. Well, it's a duet. I think it's the best we've got down there right now. And they're called Civil Wars. the Civil Wars.
We're going to be hearing a lot about them?
Yes, you are. They've already won a couple of Grammys.
You ever want to move to New York?
Love New York. Love the people in New York. I grew up with them, and
They tell you how to get to a place. They don't tell you twice.
Yeah, yeah. Wexler used to say to me, Larry, he used to say, Rick, when I call you up, you need to have a list made of the things that you want. And I'll say yes or no, and we'll get through that thing. Right, in about 5 minutes, we'll be done, and you'll accomplish a lot. But he said, don't give me that bull about Mama and them.
Looking back, look at the way you came from, poverty and tragedy in your family.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
pinch yourself? I mean, are you surprised at all this?
Not really. I'm a firm believer, and I tell people I kick ass and take names. So I'm a survivor. I've never doubted my abilities. I've always believed in myself, and I believed I was smarter than the next musician, songwriter, producer, engineer, the whole thing. So.
Were you a tough guy to deal with?
Tough, very tough.
Yeah.
I was a tough businessman. Carl can tell you that I was very tough, you know. And I had some tough attorneys, and they were all from New York.
Clive Davis is very big with the Grammys and everything.
Yes, he is.
His big party, which we attend every year. How important was he in the music business?
Nobody better. Jerry Wexler came very close, but the company wasn't quite as big as
What made
CBS.
Clive special? He's been a guest here with us.
Clive was...
Or is. He's still going.
Yeah, he is. He's still going. I mean, he's still a great guy. He knows a great song when he hears it. He knows a hit record when he hears it. He listens to people like Rick Hall, and he listens to Larry King, and he listens to everybody and says, what do you think of this song? Oh, you don't like it? Why don't you like it? You know, he's very inquisitive.
And he's not closed-minded. He'll listen
No,
to the
no,
rap,
no, no. He'll listen
and
to
he'll
anything.
produce Harry Connick Jr.
Yes, sir, in a minute. He's that kind of a guy, and I went to his office one time and sat with all of his executives. I think it was on Tuesday morning. We were having a big music meeting, and he said to me, this is Rick Hall. He's a great producer, blah, 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 from Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and I want him to sit in with me, and he's sitting in his chair beside of him, and he said, I want him to listen to the music with me, and if he hears a hit, I want him to tell me. And we played a song, and I said, "This is a hit. That's a #1 record, if promoted." He said, "Rick just told me this is a #1 record, guys, and it better be."
You remember what it was?
It was one of those teen angel things. Can you hear me? You know, teen angel, can you see me?
You know,
is it somewhere up above? Blah blah blah.
Sometimes artists aren't the best judge of their own
No, they're
work.
not.
The best
They're the
example,
worst.
I'll tell you, best example of that, Johnny Cash was very good to me, and I interviewed him many times. Johnny Cash hated I Walk the Line. He listened to it, didn't like it. He's driving in a car, he hears it on the radio, couldn't stand it. Calls up Sam, whatever his name was at that record company, and says, I can't stand this. Yeah, Sam Phillips, and says, it's the #1 song in the country.
No
He
kidding.
thought it missed a beat.
No kidding.
So you never know.
No, you never know.
Now, you would have known that one, right?
I'd have known that one. I would have known that one. Well, not only that, but Sam Phillips is from Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Is he?
And he came up with Roy Orbison. He came up with Johnny Cash. He came up with Elvis Presley. He came up with Carl Perkins. All those big rock and roll acts, Jerry Lee Lewis, a whole lot of shaking and all that stuff.
All you guys had this special knowledge
About the music?
of knowing what you hear, right? You hear something I don't hear, right?
Yeah.
And you can't teach that.
No, you can't teach that. I think it's a God-given talent that some of us have and some of us don't have. But I think you're right. It's very, very unique in the music business because you only have maybe a half dozen in America or in the world, maybe, or a dozen that can do that.
Does the good artist rely on their producer?
Heavily, very heavy.
Rick,
Heavily.
congratulations on the Lifetime Achievement.
Thank you, Larry.
Congratulations on the coming book. Congratulations on Muscle Shoals.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks to my very special guest, the legendary Rick Hall. And remember, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. See you next time.